Oh wow, Jim Miller with a 23-second KO. 23-second KO. I mean, I would never think in my head that Jim Miller can do that. And not just because of the eventual and gradual loss of skill when you get older, but because he doesn't really knock out a lot of guys. Most of the time he submits a guy. And you would think that somebody old like Jim Miller would just try to grapple. It's a lot easier to grapple when you're older. It doesn't require a lot of athleticism. You don't get hurt as much. You don't need to be bouncing in and out and being all athletic and having that footwork that you once had. You can grapple. It's a lot easier. And I thought that that is what he's just gonna do. I thought he would just be grappling and try to extend that record of most fights and most wins in the UFC. I'd never think for a second that he would knock a guy out at that age. At that age. And I never even thought that he would do it in 23 seconds. My God, 23 seconds. And we also do have to understand that there's some context behind this. The guy was making his debut. The guy, I believe his name was Jesse Butler. Something like that. He was just making his debut. And he's fighting Jim Miller, who's had 42 fights in the UFC. 42 fights in the UFC. And his opponent is gonna debut. It doesn't always end good for the debutee. It isn't always that easy. And if you remember, Jared Gordon originally should be the guy that was going to fight Jim Miller. It was going to be Jared Gordon, who was coming off a no contest against Bobby Green, is going to fight Jim Miller, but it didn't happen because there was some issues, I believe medical issues, because Jared Gordon just fought recently against Bobby Green, and he said in the media day that he had a concussion. And obviously when you say something like that, the doctors will check you up. So when the doctors heard that he had a concussion, when he admitted in the media day, they pulled him out. So now Jesse Butler steps in, makes his debut against Jim Miller, the biggest winner in the UFC. 25 wins now. I mean, that is 25 wins. That is impressive.